So we're going to log in. Your username is your email address. Let's see here. And then your password is something specific that you would have if you have not yet obtained a password. You would go on here and do first time user or forgot password, and then you would get a temporary password emailed to you to be able to log in and then change your password. Let me just log in here real quick. So once you get in here, this is the screen you're going to see, and there is down here this begin task, which is your year-end collection. So that is the task we're going to do. If you do need to change your password, I'll just touch base on that real quick here. You would just go up under the arrow by your name and click change password and do it there. Your password, once you change it, is stored on our website. So if you ever forget that password, you can call your client service manager and they can help with that as well. Once we click on the begin task here, we're going to walk through all of these different steps up here on the top, and some of these are just basically for you to confirm the information that we have on file each year to make sure that nothing has changed, and other sections are just for the current plan year to allow you to give us the information to provide the 5500 and annual valuation. So this first one, the general, is just your company contact information, which is the address of the company, mailing and physical if they're different, if you prefer your mail going to a P.O. box. And then it also has a phone number here. You can also edit this right here by clicking the edit address, and it would bring up an option for you to edit that address and submit that to us and save it. Or you can just add a new address, which brings up the same screen. You would select what kind of address, one that's out there, or add a new one. Type that in there, excuse me, and then save it for us. After you have verified the information here on the company contact information, you would just hit save, and it's going to then move you on to the next tab of the company data. What this is where you're going to enter your company's EIN number, the tax identification number, your fiscal year end that we're working on, the corporation or entity type, I'm sorry, what type, then it gives you the list of all of the different options for you to choose right here. The NAICS business code, if you want to put it there, that is not a required field. It does not have a star, but if you do know it, that is helpful because it does belong on the 5500. So if you have that, that is great to enter there. Your payroll provider is another one that is not required, but it's just easier for us sometimes to deal with the different payroll providers if you can give us that information, or if it's in-house, so that we know who we're dealing with if we have payroll questions. And then your payroll frequency is a required field. We would need you to tell us if you're biweekly, monthly, semi-monthly, or weekly. Once again, once you confirm this information, you can save and move on to the next tab. These first few are pretty simple. They're all just review, basically. Your principals are who are the owners of the company. So we would need to have their name, title, whether or not they're an officer, and what percentage of ownership they have in the company. Again, you can add here, you can edit here, or you can delete a principal if they no longer have ownership in the company. So you have those three options. Or if there's something that you need to tell us specifically about the ownership of someone, you can click on this notes, and you can just type a note in here, save it, and then that will be out there for us to view as well as we're going through the year-end process. We'll save and move on to the family. What the family relationship is we need to know if anyone that works for the company is related to any of the owners, so that we can verify if there is any family attribution that needs to be looked at during the testing of the plan. So that family attribution is family members, husband, wife, children, anyone like that that's working for the company. If they're like a brother, it's best to put it on there. That's not going to trigger any family attribution, but it's good to know, especially when there's the same last names for people, so that we can verify whether or not it's a brother, son, daughter, whatever. Again, here you can add, edit, or delete all of those right here, and same thing, we've also got the notes here for you to add any specific notes on someone that you may want to do that as well. The other businesses owned, what this section is that we need to check for any controlled groups, affiliated service groups. So what we need to know is if any of the owners of the company, the principals, own any interest in any other companies so that we can make sure we test them accordingly. So if back here on the principals we had James Bond, I believe here, yep, he was 85%. So if he owned anything in another company, we would want to make sure that it is listed here so we can test everything. And it has to be the owners or their spouses as well. So we would need to know if their spouse owned any shares in any other company as well. Again, the add it, edit, and delete buttons are all here along with the notes. So if there's anything that you have a specific question on or a note on, you can always put that here for us. All right, the contacts, these are the people at the company that you want to allow contact with for the retirement plan. You would just list what they are, who they are, what their position is, their role, and then we would make sure they're in there. So as you can see, like annual information contact for a contact is someone that will be completing all of the this information that we're going over right now, the website and the census information and the questionnaires. You can again add and delete anyone here, edit them, notes. This is just who you want to allow contact with at your company. So those steps are all of the just kind of verification ones. Now we're going to get into the ones that are particular for the plan year that need to be answered for that plan year we're working on. And we will go over all of these questions in detail. And this may be where you have more questions as well. So the annual employer questionnaire, number one is, do you deposit employee salary deferrals and loan payments each pay period? You would just have a select one, yes or no. We're going to answer these as we go through because we have to move to the next step. What that is, why we're asking that is because there are certain deposit requirements for salary deferral and loan payments that they need to be made within 7 days of the pay period, to not be considered a late deposit and need to be reported as such on the 5500. The number two is, did any employee reported on the census receive pay based on prevailing wage or Davis-Bacon wages? Typically, we see that answered as no unless it's a construction company. That is where we see most of the prevailing wages or Davis-Bacon wages. But, I mean, if your company has it, please enter yes. Has the employer utilized the service of any leased or contract employees? The leased employee is someone who has performed service for an employer on a substantially full-time basis or a period of at least 12 months, or has performed services under the primary direction or control of the employer, and C, was paid as a leasing or paid through a leasing organization, which then pays income directly to the employee. That obviously is going to be specific to your company, so just answer yes or no accordingly, and then if we have questions, we can always contact you regarding that. Number four is, will a request for extension of time for filing the company's income tax return be made for this year? It's just a yes/no answer. Why we ask this is because typically if an extension is filed on the company's income tax return, that also works for a extension on the Form 5500 if it's not completed by July 31st. Does the employer maintain any other qualified retirement plan that is self-administered or administered by another third-party administrator? So if you have a 401k plan with us and say a defined benefit plan with someone else, you would answer this yes. If all of your plans are through us, you would just answer no. Does the employer maintain a cafeteria plan, health savings account, flexible spending account, or other similar type of Section 125 plan or non-qualified deferred compensation plan? Again, this is just a yes/no question. Whether or not you have those or not, answer accordingly. The next one is, would you be interested in learning more about the cafeteria plan services offered by Alliance Benefit Group Rocky Mountain? If you do not have a cafeteria plan or are not familiar with them, we have someone here in our office that can certainly go over the rules and regulations on that and get you that information so that you may determine if it might be a good fit for your company. Do the owners of the company or their spouses own or partially own any other business entities that could be considered a controlled group or affiliated service group? Now, we answered that kind of back on the family and the business section, but this is just another yes/no answer to make us see a little bit more detail, and then we can ask further questions. If the employer funded matching contributions during the plan year, please indicate the matching formula. So if you have a matching formula of 100%, 100% up to 4% of a match, you would type that in here. If you do not do a match, you can just put the number 0, and that is fine as well. It will, as long as there's something in the field. Does the company desire to make any additional matching contributions in addition to any contributions made during the plan year? This is just a yes/no answer, so if you want to, and if you have not funded that full amount yet and may need to want to fund more, you can check yes, or if you're not going to fund any more match, then that formula you can just check no. The next one starts with the employer contribution. So does the employer desire, or does the company desire to make any additional employer contributions in addition to any contributions made during the plan year? A lot of times employers do not make their contributions during the plan year. They make them at the end of the plan year. So this is, we see a yes on this a lot, but if you make them during the year and you don't want to fund anything additional, just answer no. If you would like us to calculate the additional contribution, you would just select yes or no here. Please indicate the dollar or percentage amount of additional contribution or matching contribution if known. So let's say you want to put in just another $10,000. You would just enter that there, and then because you told us to calculate it, we would work on that and run the numbers and get the calculations to you. Please indicate the last pay date or check date that occurred during the plan year. Now, this isn't always going to be 12/31. It could be that your last paycheck was on 12/26 of 2015. So we would want that there just so that we can track your pay periods according to how you entered the biweekly, weekly, monthly on the prior questions. Alliance Benefit Group Rocky Mountain offers payroll services that allow us to gather all the necessary census information for plan sponsors. Would you be interested in learning how these payroll services can assist your company? If you would like to find out about our services, please just answer yes or no here. Does the plan invest in life insurance for the participants? If so, please provide by fax or secure email the premium and cash value information for the plan. This again is just going to be specific to your plan, yes or no, and if it is yes, then just please fax that information in or contact your client service manager about how you're going to provide that information to us. Does the plan invest in any unqualified assets such as real property, partnerships, or any other asset that is not readily tradable? If so, please provide the annual independent valuation to your CSM. What this is asking is if they own any land, real estate, collectibles, artwork, coins, partnerships in other companies, and they're in the name of the plan, not an owner owning a portion of it, but it has to be in the name of the plan specific is what this question is asking for. So again, just going to be yes or no answers. Have you had any employees recalled for military service? Again, yes or no specific to your situation. We will upload an electronic copy of your annual information, your annual valuation to the plan sponsor website. Please indicate if you would like to receive a paper copy in addition to your electronic copy. So you would either select electronic copy only or paper and electronic, and then we would send you out a paper copy as well. Once you go through and have all these questions answered, you just hit save and it will bring you to our next questionnaire for the 5500. So on the 5500 questionnaire, these are questions that are specifically asked on the 5500 in some manner, and that's why we're asking these even though some of them do seem to be duplicated questions. This is how they're worded more so on the 5500. Did the plan hold any assets whose current value was neither readily determinable or on an established market nor set by an independent third-party appraiser. Again, this is asking about those lands, collectibles, coins, artwork, and stuff like that. And if you've not had them valued, or if your plan holds them, you need to answer yes or no. If you're not sure, unknown, or contact me, you can enter those that way too, so that someone can, your client service manager can contact you and go over that information with you in more detail to determine how you should be answering that question. Did the plan receive any non-cash contributions whose current value was neither readily determinable on an established market nor set by an independent third-party appraiser? Typically, this will be answered no, because most plans are not going to have non-cash contributions. But if you feel that you may have had that, it is best again to contact your client service manager to find out for sure if something would be considered a non-cash contribution. Number 3 is, did the employer fail to transmit to the plan any participant contributions, the salary deferral and loan payments, within the time period described? For plans under 100 lives, whereby an employer can meet the requirements of an administratively feasible by depositing participant contributions and loan payments no later than the 7th business day following the date the amount would otherwise be payable. So this again is basically a duplicate question of the other one that you answered yes, but this one we would be answering no, because we're going to say that we did not fail to transmit any. If you did on here, you would just answer yes, and then your client service manager would be in contact with you to find out which ones were deposited late, so that we can prepare the applicable documents that go along with late contributions. There's additional forms that need to be completed if that does happen. Did the plan enter into any non-exempt transactions with any party in interest, including to but not limited to any trustee, owner, other companies owned by the plan sponsor, employee of the plan, relatives, officers, administrators, and custodians of the plan? This would include a loan to or from the plan, or the personal use of plan assets of the properties, collectibles, office space, etc., to any party in interest. So what this is asking in more detail is if one of the owners of the company loaned money from the plan to a relative, that is considered a prohibited transaction, and you would answer yes to this. Or the late deposits, if you just didn't deposit the deferral or loan contributions, that can be considered personal use of plan assets. Along with that one also is if you have the properties or collectibles or office space and you are using them for plan purposes or have them at your home, that is also considered a prohibited transaction, and you would answer yes to this. This is not commonly answered yes, it is more commonly answered no, but you just need to be aware of those rules, and if you have any specific questions on this type of asset or party and interest transactions, just contact your client service manager and they can go into more detail if you have a specific question for them. Number 5 is the plan covered by a fidelity bond? Any plan that has employees should be answering this question yes, because all plans are required to have a fidelity bond in place. It's an ERISA fidelity bond that protects the fiduciaries of the plan in case anything happens with the plan or plan assets are used for personal use and information like that. So this is required by the Department of Labor. You need to have at least a 10% of your prior year's assets covered by that bond. If you do not have a bond, your client service manager will be contacting you within the annual valuation package stating that you need to get a bond. And they can assist you in that. We've got some different companies that we can work with to help you obtain that bond. We recommend that you first start with your individual insurance agent, because if you've already got other insurance products through them, they may be able to offer that fidelity bond cheaper than if you were to go through someone who you do not have any other policies with. Once you answer yes, we just ask you to enter the amount of the bond. We'll just put $50,000 here. And then you would enter the provider, whoops, if I can type. And then those two are not required, so even if you answer yes and you didn't answer these, it's not going to give you an error message that you have something wrong. But if you answer yes and you don't answer them, we will be contacting you to get that information from you directly. Next question is, has the plan discovered a loss as a result of dishonest or fraudulent acts, even if the loss was reimbursed by the plan's fidelity bond? So typically, you know, this should hopefully be answered no, but if it's answered yes, please contact your client service manager with the full details. We very rarely see these claims go against, you know, the fidelity bond, but we need to know if you do have something that happens that way. Has the plan failed to provide any benefit when due under the plan? This includes payments due from the plan that were not timely paid or not paid in full. So if the contributions have not been funded from a prior year, that is where you would answer yes, like your profit sharing went in a year later than it should have, you would answer yes to this one, or anything else. We're going to answer no. You don't often see this as yes either. This is typically no, because contributions are made timely for the most part in our plans. If yes, please enter the amount. So if, let's say, we'll just answer this yes, and we'll just put an amount here. We'll say $5,000 was not done timely. For plans that allow participant direction of investments, did the plan incur a blackout period during the plan year? The blackout period is defined as a period of more than 3 business days during which a participant has been temporarily suspended, limited, or restricted from any one of the following: directing or diversifying their assets credited to their account, obtaining a loan, or a withdrawal from their account. So if your plan converted from one type of plan to another and you had to have a blackout period, you would answer this yes. Answering this yes is not hurting anything. It's just showing that you had that blackout period. If you allow participant direction of investments and it had it, especially if you do not allow participant direction of your assets, then the answer is going to be no. Has a resolution to terminate the plan been adopted during the plan year or any other plan year? So this is a simple yes/no question. If you have adopted or elected to terminate your plan, you would answer yes. Hopefully the answer is no. Were any non-participant loans or fixed income obligations that were due to the plan defaulted on or classified as uncollectible during the plan year? This again is talking about those types of assets that are not invested in the market, in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, money market. So they're asking if any of them have been defaulted on or classified as uncollectible. So typically if you don't have those assets, this will be no. If there is something that you answer yes to, please contact your client service manager and go over that in more detail. Were any leases to which the plan was a party in default or classified during the year as uncollectible? Same type of thing. If you've had it, contact your service manager. Typically this is going to be no, especially if you do not have those types of assets. Did the plan at any time hold 20% or more of its assets in any single security, debt, mortgage, parcel of real estate, or partnership joint venture interest? This will be answered yes if you have a real estate and it's more than 20% of your total assets, no for those that do not have any of those types of assets. Number 16, you're going to enter the email and name of the address who's credentialed to sign the 5500. On ours here. So you would just enter that information. I'm going to show you what happens if you forget to answer a question, just so you can see what happens there and how you need to go back and fix it. So I changed that one to there. We'll hit save, and it's going to give you a message. Slowly. Up here it says your choices have been saved. However, the step cannot be completed because there is an additional required field. And so you just need to go down and make sure all of those are answered that have that star there. Otherwise, you will get that message and you will not be able to move on to the next step of the task.
Hey, Christy, there was a question.
Yes. Okay.
The question was, on the plan step number 8, what is considered controlled group or affiliated service group?
I think the plan. Okay, what was the question?
It was on plan step 8, what is considered controlled group or affiliated service group?
Okay, a control group is where you have ownership between two, well, either one, affiliated service group or control group. There's just different percentages involved. It's if you as an owner own a certain percentage of another company, then that ownership is considered controlled by you in both of those companies, and we have to look at both of the plans. So like if you own 100% of one plan and a company, and 100% of another company, those two are going to be considered a controlled group because you've got that controlling interest in two different companies. Affiliated service group is a little different. It's where a company and service are related between two companies, not necessarily ownership. So that's where we look at the affiliated service group. It's a little bit different, but it's the same concept where it has to be the same amount or a certain amount of controlled interest between the two or service provided between the two. And then we have to combine those plans possibly for testing. Sometimes those companies may not have employees related in one or even involved in one, and they only have employees in one of them. We still would have to look at the owner's compensation there for both plans or both companies so that we can make sure we're using the correct compensation for testing purposes.
So they asked another question that said, even if one of the companies does not have a plan.
Yes, even if they do not have a plan, we would still need to look at them as a controlled group if that ownership percentage test passes that says they're a controlled group. That's why we ask for the percentage in that business section, because we have a spreadsheet that we can use where we would put in, company A, they own 100%, company B, they own, 50%, company C, they own 10%. We put that all in, and it calculates it to determine if it's a controlled group or not based on the percentages owned. So you always want to provide that to make sure we can check that and make sure you're not a controlled group. But yes, even if one company does not have a plan, we still need to look at it. Hopefully that answers the questions. Let me get to where the next step is. Okay, so our next step is our employee census information. This is where you're going to provide us the information that we need to run the testing and make sure everything has been done according to the census for contributions and termination dates and hire dates and all that kind of information. On here right now, we don't have anyone in here, so I'm going to show you how to add someone, and then I'm also going to show you how you can export the information that we have and then turn around and import it as well. So we're just going to go here and we're going to add a participant. We'll just use let's see here, we'll just put a we'll say they were hired January 1st of 2014. They aren't terminated or rehired. Company division is not a required one, nor is primary email. Hours is one that we need to have, so we'll say they worked 1,500 hours. Their compensation will just say $30,000. The excluded and pre-entry compensation are excluded would be for someone who is not even eligible for the plan. So let's say you have a participant who's only ever been part-time. We still have them in our system because we help track eligibility. They've never met that eligibility, so you just put their full salary and excluded compensation. Pre-entry compensation is if someone who comes in part-way during the year, so they enter the plan, say July 1st rather than January 1st, you would just put what their partial year salary is right here. Pre-tax deferrals are just if anyone did any contributions that were withheld from their check. There's pre-tax type deferrals or Roth after-tax type deferrals. So we would need to know which way it was withheld from their check because they are entered separately in our system. Then if you did an employee match, or employer match, you could put that in here, or if it's calculated on a formula, you don't need to put anything here, and we will just verify against your formula based on, you know, the projections we're running for you and stuff like that. Same thing with the safe harbor and employer contributions. If you don't know exact amounts per participant, you can leave those blank, and we will, you know, calculate those for you. Let's say this person, no, they wouldn't had a loan. We would just put what their loan payments were. We'll just say 150, and then you would submit that, and then now it's going to show this person added to our census. Shows right here, and you know, you can still go in and edit that person here, or delete them if you need to delete them. Again, add here. So that's how you add or edit someone directly online. Now, if you have a lot of employees and you don't want to sit there and do the add or edit online every single time, you can export the census information from here, and it's there's the export button and the import button. So what we'll do is we'll export this as an XLS file. We'll open that up, and what that's going to do, it gives you the instructions here on what all of those fields are for as well, but then your tab down here, employees, it shows you right here that obviously we only had the one employee, so it pulled that information on that one employee. You can still change it here, or you can go in and you can add additional employees here. Whoops, forgot to hit the enable editing. And you can just add them across, you know, the same information. The one thing you want to make sure of that you do not do is change the order of any of the headers on here, because that is specific to how it imports into our system. So you do not want to change anything. If it's a blank, just leave it blank, but still just do not delete or change any of those headers. And then you can add, or like I said, modify your employees here, save it, and then once you save that, you would just import that back in here, and it would pull the information in here just like we hand entered it. Once you have either exported and imported the information or manually entered it, you would hit save. This is going to give us, if we have any warnings, it says we have warnings. We can either choose to ignore these warnings and save and continue, or you can click here to view your warnings. So this is saying in most cases employees will have salary deferral. I thought I had entered the salary deferral here, so let's close that. I thought we had entered something. Let me check. Maybe I did not. Okay, we've got pre-tax deferral. So I'm not sure why it gave us that warning, but we can still save without that. You would just hit click, and if you didn't want to enter your information in here, you've got a QuickBooks report, ADP report, just an Excel spreadsheet that you've already prepared. You can contact your client service manager and send it to them that way, and just kind of bypass this step by hitting continue and save anyway. And then it gets you to the final step to do your approval, and it shows you that you have all your check marks done over here, and then this is if there's any other documents that you want to upload to us directly, you can upload them that way, or you can go in here and type notes. So you could upload your payroll file through here. If you didn't want to send it via email, you can add a document, and then an email will be sent automatically to your client service manager telling them that you uploaded a document, and then they can go pull that document for the plan. So once everything is done on here, you would hit your sign and submit. You would enter your name here. Whoops. You don't have to put a title. Your phone, you can put a phone number there, and then your email address. And then you would just submit this, and then it should give you a message. Yep, thank you for completing all the steps in the administration process. Confirmation email has been sent, and then as you can see, I just got that email sent to me that it went through, so it shows now that you have completed the tasks and it has gone forward to your client service manager for them to continue working on the plan. So that is the annual administration update stuff that we do every year. Are there any other questions?
Doesn't look like anyone has any questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for joining us and taking the time today to go over the annual information process.